You think just because you moved your kind into my neighborhood, you can change the rules? This isn't the ghetto, sweetheart. Some of us have standards. Yeah, that was her opening line. Not, hello. Not, welcome to the neighborhood. Not even a passive-aggressive note tucked under my doormat. Just a spit-flying, venom-laced tirade, right there on my new front porch, before I'd even finished unpacking the last box. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of person comes out swinging like that before you've even had a chance to breathe? But let me back up a sec, because you gotta see the full picture to get just how crazy this got. See, for me and my wife Jenna, this whole mess started with a dream. We'd spent years in shoebox apartments, living on top of each other, saving up for something more than just a roof over our heads. We wanted space, air, a backyard where maybe one day our future kids could run around and, hell, maybe even a little peace. So when we finally found this place, a 2-story house on a tree-lined street, big old oak out front, huge yard, and, get this, a guest house with its own kitchen and bathroom, we thought we'd found our slice of paradise. Signed the papers so fast I'm surprised the pen didn't catch fire. First few weeks were magic. Unpacking, painting, learning which light switches did what. Normal new house stuff. The neighbors seemed chill enough. A wave here, a nod there. Nobody brought over a casserole, but whatever. We were the new folks. We could make the first move eventually. The only neighbor who stood out was the woman next door. The Karen, though back then she was just the blonde with the Lexus and the picture-perfect lawn. Her son, Liam, was around a lot, usually with a few friends. I noticed early on that Liam and his buddies had this habit of cutting through my backyard, using my pool gate like it was a public park entrance. I figured, okay, maybe the last owners, a sweet old couple, didn't mind. In the spirit of good neighborliness, I let it go. But it didn't stop at foot traffic. I came home from work one afternoon and found Liam and 2 of his friends lounging in my pool. No heads up, no knock, just, hey, new guy, it's hot out. Hope you don't mind. I should have said something then, but you know how it is. I didn't want to be the angry new guy, so I forced a smile and told them just to ask next time. Jenna wasn't thrilled. She saw it as a boundary thing. I said maybe it was just a one-time thing. Then my Wi-Fi started crawling. I checked the router, and lo and behold, there's a half-dozen devices logged in. Phones, a laptop, a PlayStation. All labeled Liam's iPhone and Kyle's PS5. Turns out the guest house Wi-Fi still reached their place, and these kids were mooching off my internet. Not the biggest deal, maybe, but it stung. You work hard for something, and suddenly it feels like everyone else thinks it's community property. I changed the password, and next day, sure enough, the trespassing leveled up. I'm on a conference call in my home office when I hear a ruckus in the backyard. I look out and see Liam and at least 10 other kids throwing a full-blown party, blasting music, leaving chips and soda everywhere, like my place was their college frat house. I lost my patience. I walked out, told them flat out they couldn't just waltz in here. Liam acted like I was the one out of line. Chill out. Dude, it's just a pool. The old folks never cared. I told him I wasn't the old folks, and he and his friends needed to leave now. That was when I saw Karen's curtain twitch. She was watching, and from the way Liam made a show of storming off, I knew this wasn't over. Jenna just sighed when I told her. She said, I told you this would happen. The shine of our new home was wearing off. I was starting to feel less like I'd bought a sanctuary and more like I'd stumbled into some weird territory war. Next week, we left town for a wedding. Came home late Sunday, dead tired. As soon as we pulled in, I saw the guest house lights on. I knew right away something was wrong. Walked over, and sure enough, the door was cracked open. Place was a wreck. Beer cans, pizza boxes, bathroom trashed, and on the TV, someone had scrawled a racist cartoon in permanent marker. That feeling, it was like my blood boiled and froze at the same time. This wasn't just disrespect. It was a message. Jenna was shaking. I'm done being nice, she said. So was I? Next day, I turned the guest house into Fort Knox. Commercial-grade deadbolt, key card, keypad, the works. Reinforced the frame, chained the backyard gate. And yeah, I made sure Karen could see me doing it. Did that solve it? Not even close. The very next afternoon, I watched from my office window as Liam swaggered into his yard with a friend, heading for my locked gate. He looked confused, then pissed, when it didn't open. So he climbed the fence, real genius move, and went straight for the guest house door. When the new lock didn't budge, He lost it, pounding and yelling. I ended my work call, went out in my suit, and just stood there watching him melt down like a toddler. "You can't do this," he screamed. "My mom said we could. I'm the owner now," I told him. "And you're not welcome on my property. Period." He stormed off, kicking rocks, but I knew this was just the opening act. 5 minutes later, Karen herself was on my porch, claws out, red nails pointed in my face. "You think you can just move your kind in here and change the rules?" My son is devastated. He's always used that space. I told her, calm as I could, that her son was trespassing, that this was my property now. She went off, claimed they had some understanding with the last owners, ranted about community standards, threatened to make my life hell through the HOA. And sure enough, 4 days later, a crisp envelope from the HOA landed in my mailbox. "It has been brought to our attention that you have made an unapproved exterior modification to your property." They meant the new lock. Cited some vague bylaw about harmonious visual flow, and gave me 2 weeks to take it down or face $50 a day in fines. Jenna was furious, but I felt something else, a kind of cold resolve. This was about power, not aesthetics. So I combed through the bylaws and found my ammo. Homeowners were allowed to install security devices as reasonable measures for protection. I drafted a formal response, quoted their own rules, cited the trespassing, made it clear the lock was for security, not decoration, sent it certified mail, and settled in for the next move. The silence was heavy. A week passed. That's when I knew. This was turning into a war of attrition. So Jenna and I went full CSI. Bought the best security cameras we could afford, front porch, driveway, 2 in the backyard. Within days, the vibe changed. Liam and his friends stopped cutting through. Karen glared while gardening, but I didn't care. We finally slept easier. Then, inevitable, came the next escalation. 2 a.m., my phone buzzes with a motion alert. Jenna and I watch in real time as Liam and his buddy sneak into my yard. They try the lock, poke at the door with a screwdriver, peer in our kitchen window. The footage is chilling. I save it, back it up, label it midnight trespassing. A few nights later, 9 p.m., a thunderous knock on the door. 2 police officers. "We've received a noise complaint." I invite them in, TV volume low, no party, just takeout and a movie. "You want to see something?" I ask. I pull up the video. They watch, silent, as Liam and his friend break every line of decency on my screen. "Was the complaint filed by the woman next door?" one asks. I just nod. They make their report, advise me to keep the footage, and suggest that if this continues, I might want to file for harassment myself. When they leave, I feel validated, yeah, but also ready. The gloves were off. Karen's next move? She sent Gary, her husband. I'd barely spoken to the guy, but he shuffled over one afternoon, head down. Said his wife can be a bit intense. Tried to make it sound like this was just how things were. Then he asked if we could give Liam a key to the guest house, as some kind of compromise. I nearly laughed in his face. Your son breaks in, your wife files a false police report, and you want a key? Absolutely not. Isolation set in. I started to wonder, were we the crazy ones? Was the whole neighborhood like them? But then, one night, Martha from across the street stopped me while we were both taking out the trash. She told me, quietly, that we weren't alone. She's been doing this for years, Martha said, shaking her head. She thrives on conflict. Don't let her get to you. Most of us are rooting for you. Hearing that was like a lifeline. But the drama wasn't done. Liam started acting out, loud in the yard, footballs bouncing suspiciously close to our fence. Until, one afternoon, I heard the shatter of glass. Ran outside to find the guest house window smashed, a baseball lying in the grass. Security footage showed Liam winding up and deliberately hurling it. I called the cops right away. This time, when the officers arrived, I pressed charges. That was the turning point. Jenna and I hired a lawyer, Mr. Clark, who drafted a cease and desist letter that hit like a legal sledgehammer. Stop all contact, pay for the window, and withdraw the bogus HOA complaint, or we'd seek a restraining order. We CC'd the HOA's management, just to let them know this wasn't just a neighborly spat anymore. And just like that, everything stopped. Karen and Gary sent a check for the window. The HOA dropped the complaint, and a weird, heavy silence settled over the street. I knew Karen wasn't done. She started a smear campaign online, gossiping at the mailbox, trying to paint us as the bad neighbors. But Martha and others pushed back. When Karen proposed a new rule at the HOA meeting, no electronic locks on guest houses, pool access for neighborhood kids, the whole community turned out, shot it down, and she left red-faced and humiliated. After that, she vanished. Liam got a job to pay off his fines. The house next door grew quiet. Our backyard became our sanctuary again. Friends visited, family stayed in the guest house, and slowly, the neighborhood became home. But there was a coda. One day, an ambulance showed up next door. Gary was sick, some kind of degenerative illness. Suddenly, everything made a little more sense. Karen's rage, Gary's passivity, it was all tangled up in grief and desperation. One day, Gary came over and apologized for everything, said they were selling the house, moving closer to his doctor. We shook hands. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something close. The for sale sign went up. The day they moved out, Karen paused, looked at our house, and gave a small, tired nod. A final truce. The next family who moved in were everything we'd hoped for. Friendly, respectful, just normal. Our backyard was peaceful again. Sometimes I'd look at that keypad lock and feel a strange, quiet pride. It wasn't just a lock, it was a line in the sand. So yeah, that's my story. From a spit-flying tirade on my porch to a backyard barbecue with real friends. Was it worth the fight? Every last second. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Because sometimes standing your ground is the only way to turn a house into a home. Now, let me throw it out to you. Where do you draw the line between being neighborly and standing up for yourself? Ever had to fight for your own little piece of peace? Drop your stories in the comments. Let's talk about what community and justice really mean.